Hello and welcome to Stitching Journal Club, where we are all about cross-stitch and sciencey shenanigans. Because of last week's filming difficulties, I didn't get to say a bunch of stuff that I wanted to, that I had written down in my notes, but I will be doing a sort of a Stitchy year in review video soon, so all that stuff will fit in there, so look forward to that. And so with that, I'll just get into my stitching. The first project I have is a finish. This is New Moon by DMC. It's a free pattern on their website. And I finally finished it. This is when I started, probably winter 2019. And then I stopped. Just got into other things, but I finally dug it out and finished it. I didn't have much to do, just some fill-in and those clouds and stars, but I think it looks great. I still want to put some sparkle on it, maybe do seed beads for little sparkly stars. Let's see what I have in my stash and see what looks right. I changed the clouds. So the pattern has the clouds filled in with white on top and a lighter blue on bottom. I apologize for my neighbors. They're being extra stompy today. But I thought that adding another color of blue would make it too busy. And it just didn't look right to me. So I kept the clouds. I actually am using the negative space in the clouds. They're not stitching at all. And I like it. I think it looks absolutely cute. So that is New Moon, a free pattern by DMC. The rest of the patterns that I'm going to show today are new starts. When I was out of commission because of my hand, I got really philosophical and kind of sad. And I was thinking, well, if I had to stop stitching right now, I would rather have stitched on at least a little bit on more of my patterns, rather than completing a few of them. So ever since then, I've been wanting to start new patterns. And whenever I get the starting bug, I try to go with it because it takes a lot more energy to get me to start a pattern than it does to continue on for some reason. So when I'm in the mood to start stuff, I just start stuff and then it can languish until I'm ready to stitch on it some more. So the first is, actually let me show you the picture because I have it here. This is Needles Dance by these three designers. And it's like a Scandinavian inspired pattern there. Before I put it down, I am not going to stitch the top with the saying. I'm going to cut that off and just stitch the motifs. So here's what I have so far. And I'm going to ask you all for your advice. So the pattern is charted either on dark or light fabric. And I picked a purple, which I guess is kind of in the middle. But that's not what is bugging me. These colors. There's only 6 colors, and these are all the colors that are in the pattern. What do you think about that? I'm really not feeling it. When I look at the pattern, and maybe it's a little washed out here, more of the blues dominate. Blues and reds will dominate in the finished pattern. So it could be an issue of just me needing to trust my needle and see it through. But you guys, this is a color palette. And while pretty, they're not my color palette. I am I am more on the side of I don't know, space goth color palette than these pastel soft colors. So what do you think? If you've seen this pattern, do you think I should push through and finish it on this fabric in these colors? Or should I change colors? I will heed your advice. Should I continue with these color palettes or something else? Oh man. Anyway, next is a Carolyn Manning Designs pattern. It's called Phoenix, and that's how far I've gotten so far. And talk about colors. This is more my speed. Look at these bright reds, purples. Look at those blues. Like, oh my God. I get the feeling of a phoenix rising from the ashes from these colors. So I have no hesitation about stitching these, and it's so great. These are so beautiful. This is what I've gotten so far. Like I said, and it's a pretty easy stitch. So I'll poke around at that periodically till it gets done. Next is called Magical Swamp by Stitchy Princess. This is stitching up really fast. It's not a very big pattern. That sun in the middle, that's halfway. I really like the feeling that this pattern gives me. Like, I can imagine like a nature reserve, a marshland, waking up to spring. All the birds, all the frogs, and other animals just sort of emerging and I don't know, doing whatever animals do in spring in a marsh. So I can't wait to finish that and have that displayed somewhere. And finally, this pattern I started, it's called Vintage Carpet. This is a big one. I think that the original pattern was an antique meant for dollhouses, so it's big. I'm doing it in full cross stitch. This is actually on 40 count even weave, and man, those holes are small. I think 40 count is about the limit of what I can do without magnification, and I can't really use magnification because it makes me nauseous. So I am stuck with my eyes and my very strong glasses prescription. And I was showing you this pattern wrong way up. This goes this way up. Oh man. But you know, 40 count isn't bad. It's small, but I got a tiny start on this really big pattern. Right. So I still have the stitchy bug. There's at least 2 more that I want to start before I think it'll leave me to get back to normal. So I'll probably have those 2 to show next video. So yeah. So last time before I got cut off, I was talking about how I store my fabrics. They are just on these comic book boards held on by alligator clips. And a lot of people store their fabrics this way. And I had had the supplies for a long time. I just hesitated to store my fabric out in the open. And then I saw a Flosstube, and I don't remember who anymore. I didn't write it down. So if you know, let me know and I'll give her credit. But she showed these boxes off of Amazon that fit the comic book boards perfectly. I don't have to cut them down at all. They fit right in. And I was like, bingo. It's exactly how I want to store my fabric. I can just flip through what I have and choose a fabric. They are stored more or less by fabric count. I'm sure some are misfiled by now, but it's been great. This is all my fabric. I don't have a huge stash, but I do love what I have, and I love having it this way. It's one of those game changer things. So that's how I store my fabric. So today's journal club is going to be a short one about cats. Now, I don't think that this will be news to any of us who have had cats in the past or have them now, but a recent study found that cats know when their owner or their person is using cat voice, and furthermore, they can tell their human's cat voice from a stranger's cat voice. The study was done in France, and researchers recorded pet owners talking just in normal tones to a stranger, and then they recorded them using cat voice to their cats and played the recording back to the animals. And basically the cats reacted to their person's voice more than a stranger's voice. And even more so when cat voice was used. I was just so amused by this study. It's not news at all. Like, not at all. But when I read it, I immediately thought of my cat, Boots. Here's a picture of him. It's my favorite picture of him, and I found it when I was cleaning out some boxes. Boots passed away in 2016, and, you know, I miss him so much. I miss him every day. But I was thinking about how when I adopted him, I was going to change his name to something, you know, more fancy than Boots. But I realized that he knew his name and he would come to his name. So I felt bad changing it. Yeah, he was my little shadow, but, you know, if he was in the other room and I was somewhere else, I would just yell Boots and he would come no matter what every time. And, yeah, that's about all I have to say. Yeah, nothing too groundbreaking here. So if you have a cat, do you use cat voice? Does your cat know their name? Do they come to their name? Or do they just sort of look at you disdainfully? How dare you speak to them so familiarly? So yeah, with that, I will give you today's recommendation. It is the most recent adaptation of Around the World in 80 Days. It's on PBS, and it stars David Tennant, who is charming as usual in it. It's a really good show. It's like an 8-part miniseries, and it's really fun. So if you can, you should watch it. So I will see you next time, and I hope you have a great 2 weeks.